Today talk about delayed gratification and willpower, and why I think it's one of the most important factors in why some guys get good real fast with women, and why some people, in general women as well, and some men, former clients, some buddies of mine, take a long time to assimilate new information, to basically learn. Why is it that some people will hear one thing, and I'll even give them the advice. I'll make sure that they know that they understood it by having them repeat it back to me, and then we'll even drill it sometimes just to make sure that they really did get that concept. And then when they go out, for example, one is I often hear people come back and tell me, I ran out of things to say. When they're talking, let's say a guy is talking to a girl he's interested in, can't come up with anything to say. He says, I ran out of things to say. And I said, well, did you go over this, this, and the other thing, X, Y, and Z, which we went over before? He's like, oh, I forgot about those things. Okay, so maybe you just forgot. All right, let's go over it again, and then send you back out. Same thing. Oh, I ran out of things to say. And what it really came down to was that he kept trying. The mindset was that he was trying to impress the girl. He wanted the girl to like him, and that's natural. Of course, that's the whole purpose. But you want to put that aside when you're actually interacting with the girl. And this applies to women as well, like I mentioned. I get the same problem with women who are trying to meet guys that they're interested in, and they run out of things to say. But they're trying. They're trying to be interesting. They're trying to get someone else to like them. And that's actually the problem. It's a paradox, right? So the way around this is that you're supposed to be having fun. And I've already gone over it with them. It's not like it's anything new. It's not like a new concept that I've gone over with these people. It's just that at that moment, they're unable to get to that stage where they're at a real screening frame. They're using a real screening frame. That is, they're not so much wondering, does he like me or does she like me? They're now wondering, you need to get to the point where you're wondering, do I like that person? Is this someone that I want to get to know? Is this someone that I want to invest my time into? And it's actually a really tough switch to make. And why is it that some people, even though they hear it, they understand it cognitively, they don't really assimilate it into their unconscious, perhaps, or into their emotional system. They can't really act out of that. They don't adopt that mindset. Why is that? Well, I think it really goes down to the reason why I like working with people who have excelled in athletics is a really good field I found. People who are good with sports, are really fit, spend a lot of time taking care of themselves in fitness and health, actually really respond well to coaching and learn faster and progress much faster. That's one area. Another one is people who are really good at some very specialized field that took a lot of time to master. Arts, for instance, music, as well as mathematics, even academics. Anything that takes a lot of willpower, because that's what I found is actually the turning point. For me, it was the same. So let's think about willpower in terms of academics, arts, and athletics, the 3 A's, right? So take one that I think everybody has had has had to do at some point, is with athletics. You usually have a PE course or something when you're growing up. Now there are those people who are just naturally athletic, who are naturally built, and they get a head start. And that's sort of like people who are just naturally good with other people. At some early stage of their life, they learn how to interact with people and socialize properly. But then we get some people who have to learn it. That's most of us. That's me. And it's sort of like those who aren't born naturally with great bodies and natural athletes, who actually have to work on developing their skills and developing their strength and their speed and so forth. And it goes down to this thing called delayed gratification. Right? So there's a study at Stanford in the 60s, the marshmallow experiment. You can Google it, find it on Wikipedia or many other places. Daniel Goleman talks about it in Emotional Intelligence and considers it one aspect of emotional intelligence. So deferred gratification, delayed gratification. So it's an experiment where they took some 4-year-old kids, put marshmallows in front of them and told them to wait, I think it was 2 minutes or some number of minutes, and if they waited without taking that marshmallow, they'd get a second marshmallow at the end. And then they tracked these kids all the way up through their high school years. And what they found was that the kids who waited to get the second marshmallow, so they didn't take the first one, and they waited that time so that they'd get 2 at the end, actually did better on their SATs when they we're coming to near the end of high school. And I think what that shows is that at an early age, you can already see the difference in willpower. Now, with athletics, when you're working out, you're actually doing weights or something. What you're actually doing is, hello, I'm videotaping. What you're actually doing is ripping muscle, and that can be really painful, right? But it's an extreme kind of delayed gratification, because when you're ripping muscle for a long-term goal, it's actually you're actually doing something painful just to get that long-term goal in the end. So it's sort of like that with when you're trying to socialize with people. If you can't adopt a painful mindset, that is, all of these things will require a lot of internal strength, mental strength, and you need to impose your willpower on yourself first to realize that you have to be thinking, do I like this person, not does that person like me? So there are actually ways of developing this willpower, just like there are ways of, even if you don't have naturally gifted with a athletic body or athleticism, you can develop it. You can also develop your social muscles. So practice delayed gratification. Practice doing things that you know are painful, but that will be good for you in the end. Athletics is a good one. Anything that requires a lot of discipline, like arts, many kinds of arts, specialized skills. Things that require you to put in time that you don't, that on a consistent basis, and require you to do things that aren't very enjoyable or pleasurable at the beginning. And work on developing that part of you. In fact, it will be good for you in all areas, and you'll learn faster in pretty much everything. So stop coming to me again with stuff I've already gone over with you a billion times. Like, don't tell me I've ran out of things to say the 5th time you've gone up to someone to talk to them. We've already gone over what you need to say. And now it's just a matter of you imposing your willpower on yourself and realizing that you need to have a real screening frame and finding out whether you really like this person or not. So that you'll actually naturally do screening and qualification rather than having to think of it actively or consciously as some kind of technique or tool.